You just remembered? You blockhead!
When you say that, it sounds so negative.
Ugh! You left me on this ship to stew in my own juice while you went off and amused yourself in the Caribbean. Ha! Unbelievable!
I don't think you stewed too much in your own juice. You look great.
Oh, thank you. I mean, don't change the subject now. What was that with the tall blonde at the town hall?
Goldilocks? That was just business.
I see. Next thing you'll say is that you never wanted anything from her.
Of course I did. She had to mount the swampling and hold the camera.
You pig! So you had orgies!
Nonsense. The video wasn't for me. It was for John. He had to take part in the whole thing.
John? He was taking part too? Why, you've never told me about your preferences.
Huh? Preferences? What preferences?
And those parties on the spaceship the wolf told me about. Simon, you've completely destroyed my trust in you.
I don't know what you're talking about. I only traveled first class.
Don't lie to me. You lured Red Riding Hood into a bunk, the wolf told me.
That's totally out of context.
The poor thing.
Poor thing? That Red Devil's bride should be put in chains.
You're so pathetic. Do you even realize that?
Ouch! Stop slapping me! That's all lies! Nothing happened about the spaceship.
Nothing happened? And why did you force the wolf to wear women's clothes? Why? That's just sick.
Desperate situations require desperate actions, but I don't expect someone who relaxes on an interstellar luxury cruiser while the world is ending to understand that.
Relaxes? I was kidnapped, taken as a souvenir. I was scared to death. It was pure torture.
Torture? I can't imagine that. You're looking much too well fed.
What? Now you're telling me I've gained weight as well?
I'll say it like this. Methinks thou dost protest too much.
You pig.
You've already said that.
Because that's what you are.
Whatever. Better a pig than a habitual abductee.
It went on, and indeed their discussion took forever. In the end, Simon agreed to a bout of psychotherapy, and so he found himself on Ziggy's brand-new couch a short while later. Many, many therapy sessions later, Ziggy was able to get an idea of Simon's psyche. In this final session, Ziggy is presenting his insights to Simon.
Simon. Well, let's start with the good news. You're no Hannibal Lecter, but no Mother Teresa either. Social commitments are absolutely abhorrent to you, while other people's feelings simply do not have a place in your world. To put it into polite words, between you and the norms of society, there is a substantial and growing discrepancy. And the tragedy is, you learn nothing from your experiences, so punishment and other repercussions have no effect. For instance, I've told you a number of times how unhappy I am with you filling my living bottle with used oil, and yet I can distinctly see an oil can barely even hidden under your hat. Violating the law and recklessness are part of your daily routine, whereas regular work or remorse for your wrongdoings play no part whatsoever. And you have so little empathy that it's simply impossible for you to see things from other people's perspective. Meanwhile, feelings of guilt and a sense of responsibility are completely alien to you, even when your fellow beings are obviously suffering. Such as the swampling. You will need a large number of therapy sessions before he'll be able to cook again with his usual zest and abandon. Since all of this doesn't interest you in the least, it appears to have no effect whatsoever on your confidence or your exaggerated perceptions of your own power. At least most of the time you're able to hide this mixture of absent feelings of guilt and underdeveloped empathy and very superficial emotions quite well, so not everybody notices right away. To put it more positively, apply for a job as an investment banker or as a hedge fund manager, and you'll meet many kindred spirits. Think about your feedback unhurriedly. I'm here for you. Until then, I'd like to talk about the life assurance policy you recommended to me. After I learned that you received a commission for the conclusion of the contract, I thought it important to come back to the exponentially increasing yearly contributions you originally mentioned in no great detail.
Simon's last therapy session went on like this for a long, long time, until finally Ziggy had Simon institutionalized. A short while later, though, the town guard, John, discovered that Ziggy was not even licensed as a trained psychiatrist, and so Simon was set free again. Since then, he's refused to go to therapy ever again, and continued living his life just as before. And now let's see what became of the other heroes of this adventure game. The Wolf published a CD of his best drinking songs. Overnight he became a pop star and a heartthrob sensation. With the proceeds of his success, he bought Isla de los Locos and built a bar where the Black Pear had been. As he himself was his only customer, he had to file for bankruptcy only a few weeks later. The Swampling found his way back to his life's prime task and continued cooking swamp soup with great passion. The Nihonians immediately canceled their tourist program and retired to their home world. There they felt bored to death and decided to become the first race in the universe to disappear in a totally inexplicable way. They built countless photogenic ruins all over the known universe to give the coming civilizations something to take pictures of. Then they disappeared overnight from the magic world universe. Red Riding Hood gave up her command and dedicated herself to her feminist work again. When she was old enough, she seized upon a women's advancement and gender studies program at the Royal Academy and began her advanced academic studies. In her first year at college, she fell in love with a cousin of the Puss in Boots, which changed her entire outlook on life. Shoes, makeup, and fitness training suddenly gained a whole new level of significance for her. Later she wrote an ultra-conservative book on marriage, family, and moral values that immediately became a bestseller. The two mole agents recovered from the injuries they incurred during their valiant defense of the Caribbean island. They were discovered by a film producer and starred in the hit movie Moles in Black. After the 14th sequel, they retired from the movie business and went straight into politics. Town Guard John acquired an extensive stamp collection, for which he won the prize for the most boring anthology of stamps during the International Philatelic Congress. This was to remain his greatest success for the entirety of his life. Dr. Walden set up a craft enterprise making devices for lawn care and landscaping tools. He made a fortune designing contraptions for the dispelling and killing of voles and moles until he was incarcerated for violating the Royal Nature Conservation Act. After Walden's imprisonment, Mr. Danishan roamed all the Magic World sewers looking for his sister. He was never heard of again. Goldilocks was able to make a big haul despite her encounter with the Nihonians in the town hall. Using that gold, she bought a pardon from the king. However, her subsequent attempt at becoming a pop star failed utterly. Today, Goldilocks is living in a small town in Oklahoma, embittered and poverty-stricken. After his therapy sessions with Simon, Ziggy became incurably insane. Afterwards, he ambushed sorcerers' apprentices in the magic school of Backwarts and became known as the infamous Magic World Slasher. Captain Narrow developed superpowers by eating swamp soup. He now flies around the magic world as Captain Glamour, wearing very sexy pantyhose and giving spankings to villains. Edward Peach was completely surprised his cut-price spaceship was indeed able to function and immediately constructed a Black Pear too, marketing deckhand positions through a tourism agency. The ship vanished without a trace in the endless reaches of outer space, together with everybody aboard. The radio announcer's voice was forever connected with the terrors of the times of the alleged invasion. Although he harbored a great liking for comedies, he was only able to get voiceover roles for second-rate science fiction movies such as The Brain from Outer Space or Green Alert in Betelgeuse. In his madness, the Ghost Apprentice developed the multiple personalities of a lawyer, an accountant, a master of business administration, and a stockbroker, among others. After he rationalized and reorganized his personalities to a total of 15, he became a successful businessman, and all his remaining personalities were awarded the title Manager of the Year. The spaceship's computer voice was able to be recovered alive, but it refused to become part of Peach's door security system ever again. Instead, it fell in love with Polly. They eloped together and are currently working in the video game industry as developers. The battle robot was dismantled and its parts were turned into plowshares. Its complicity in the following Peasants' Wars could never be proven. During the great victory celebration, Siegfried the Hammer became talkative again and bragged about his adventures. John, as conscientious as ever, researched the legal situation concerning magic hammers and discovered Siegfried had not paid his taxes for the last 2,000 years. The hammer has been a fugitive ever since, while his friend Stan made use of his right to remain silent and refused to give evidence. Jonas was temporarily wanted in 13 star systems for founding a religious sect, blasphemy, and indecent behavior. While fleeing from the authorities, he had to make an emergency landing on an uninhabited swamp planet. Shortly before his passing away, a young space pilot appeared and fell for Jonas's teachings. This young space pilot used the power to establish and instill a galaxy-wide rebellion. Since there was no evil empire, however, it just fizzled out. The narrator finished speaking these lines, and then the game ended. Hey, just a minute. That's supposed to be it? Oh, come on, let me yak some more. I'm young and need the money. I can also do answering machine messages and telesales. Hello? Is anybody still listening?